Good evening. New Zealand leading tonight's news. Health officials issue a warning about a potentially fatal stomach bug. A speed camera court decision that could provide a new defence for alleged offenders. And former British spy Richard Tomlinson tries to fly out of the country tonight, but officials won't let him go.
I had a tap on the shoulder and I said, "There's a message for you." And I was led off the plane.
Our top story, New Zealand health officials are sounding a warning tonight. They're concerned about a stomach bug that's killed 2 people and been linked to numerous cases of kidney failure in children. It's called E. coli 0157. Health reporter Laura Mason has the story.
I must be the only kid in the...
10-year-old Sonia Marie de Vantier, back home recovering from a bug which nearly claimed her life.
Very painful when I was screaming at the whole room.
The culprit was E. coli 0157. It started with stomach cramps and nausea, then moved to her bowels.
Her diarrhoea progressed on worst and she ended up passing out blood. When I saw the blood, and I thought, oh, what the hell am I going to do?
Doctors at Tauranga Hospital removed her appendix, only to discover later that Sonia Marie in fact had E. coli 0157. She spent the next 5 weeks in hospital, mainly at Starship in Auckland, fighting off renal failure, living on a kidney dialysis machine.
She bloated up really bad.
Now Francis has caught the bug off Sonia Marie. Its spread is worrying the Ministry of Health. 29 cases of the communicable bacteria have already been reported this year, twice as many as the whole of last year.
Obviously, we're very concerned because there have been some very major outbreaks internationally. And so we do anticipate that this is a disease that will be with us for the foreseeable future, has the potential to be very serious.
80% of the bug's victims are children under 15. It's claimed the lives of 2 New Zealanders so far, an elderly woman last year and a 20-month-old Tauranga toddler in February.
Now, E. coli is a bacteria that is very common in the human gut, and in fact in the gut of most animals. And the unusual thing about this organism is that it has acquired the ability to produce a very serious toxin.
Health officials say the spread of cases here has been too sporadic so far to pin the cause down. Most cases have been recorded in the Bay of Plenty and Waikato regions.
We don't know the exact sources in New Zealand, but the organism has been looked at a lot overseas, and the main sources there have been undercooked minced beef meat and unpasteurized milk.
Untreated water is also suspected to be a carrier. The bug sparked alarm in the United States, making the cover of Time magazine last week, causing 10,000 cases in Japan last year and creating a scandal in Scotland last October. 20 deaths there were linked to one Scottish butcher. Frances de Vantier says she has no idea how Sonia Marie contracted the bug, but warns parents and GPs to act fast.
Go to the doctor, and if they don't do nothing, go to the hospital.
Laura Mason, One Network News.
Health officials say the symptoms of E. coli 0157 include stomach cramps and vomiting or nausea. This leads to diarrhoea, often turning bloody, and kidney failure can follow for children. There's a 5% chance it can kill. The New Zealand meat industry is already testing our beef for E. coli because our biggest market, America, is now demanding the tests. But so far there's been no evidence of the bug.
New Zealand's had an unenviable record for a long time for producing safe meat, and nothing has changed.
Our industry says the risks of catching E. coli 0157 in New Zealand are small, but it's advising people to avoid unpasteurized dairy products and untreated water, and to always wash hands and vegetables while preparing food. Experts also recommend that people cook minced beef thoroughly. In other news, a former British spy was stopped by immigration authorities as he tried to leave New Zealand tonight. Kiwi-born Richard Tomlinson was pulled off a flight to Sydney only minutes before it was due to take off from Auckland Airport. He's been told he needs an Australian visa because he was jailed in Britain for disclosing sensitive information. Michael Holland has the latest.
Grounded in Auckland tonight, the Kiwi-born former spy who now seems to have spooked this country's immigration officials. Richard Tomlinson tried to fly to Sydney from Auckland late this afternoon. He didn't get far.
Sat in the seat on the aeroplane, it was about 10 minutes to take off. I had a tap on the shoulder and I said, "There's a message for you." And I was led off the plane, and I was told that there was a fax from Canberra saying that I wouldn't be allowed into Australia.
His fate was sealed as he passed through border control, even though he presented a New Zealand passport.
As I gave my passport and she typed in my name into the computer, I could read across her face that the alarm bells were going.
The former MI6 agent says his treatment shows this country is little more than a puppet of Britain.
I mean, I'm very, very upset about the whole thing. You know, I've served my jail sentence for what I did. You know, I just like to be left in peace now, thank you. I just wish the New Zealand government would give me the same protection that they give to any other New Zealand citizen. I haven't broken any New Zealand law.
Richard Tomlinson suspects London might try to pressure Canberra into barring him. And the sacked agent who has threatened to expose MI6 in a book acknowledged he had spoken with a publisher in Auckland, although he insisted the talks were informal.
A book about my time in jail in the UK. I was in a maximum security jail. It's quite an interesting time, but there's no intention of writing anything about anything more than that.
Tonight, Richard Tomlinson's future in New Zealand remains uncertain, as does his proposed book. Michael Holland, One Network News.
A court ruling today may provide a new defence for hundreds of drivers caught by speed cameras. A judge has ruled a Dunedin man doesn't have to pay his fine because the picture taken by the speed camera couldn't be relied on. Hamish Clark reports.
Jerry Larison, the Dunedin man who's taken on the might of the traffic police and won.
We were very pleased that justice finally prevailed today.
In dispute, a $60 speed camera ticket. Larison's car clocked last February at 64 kilometres an hour in a 50k zone. In court, the former microwave oven designer showed, using models, how reflection and interference from nearby power lines and neon lights would have affected the camera's radar. And the judge agreed, saying the reading police got couldn't be relied on. He found the positioning of the speed camera completely ignored the recommendation that there be no obvious reflectors within 60 metres. And in general said it appears speed cameras are being used on a standalone basis, contrary to operating instructions. The court judgment quotes from a speed camera manual in the United States, where interference meant that a radar pointed at a tree clocked it travelling at 85 miles per hour, at a house at 25 miles per hour.
Well, the ramifications are that the speed cameras have to be sited and situated in properly approved areas where they are free from interference.
In my opinion, most of the tickets that have ever been paid were from faulty information and therefore can't be relied on.
But police say they stand by their procedures and plan to appeal the decision.
Not entirely unexpected, but a little bit concerned.
If we believed that there was any inaccuracy whatever in the speed camera program, we would pull the plug tomorrow.
Jerry Larson says his services are available as police need. Hamish Clark, One Network News.
Christchurch's Life Festival has begun tonight after weeks of controversy. The government refused to sanction the anti-youth suicide concert, saying it was poorly organised, but so far tonight there have not been any major problems. Jendi Harper reports.
No support from the Ministry of Youth Affairs, but plenty of support from Christchurch youth. Over 2,000 attending tonight's Life Festival. Police were keeping a close eye on young concert goers. Yesterday they moved to distance themselves from concert organisers, claiming the event hadn't been officially approved, a claim organisers refute.
We had approval over a month ago, so I think there's a breakdown in communication between ourselves and the police.
The last-minute hitch follows a week of controversy when the Ministry of Youth Affairs withdrew its support for the concert, claiming a similar event in Wellington glorified youth suicide.
You're trivialising the youth suicide issue by thinking you can prevent youth suicide at rock concerts. My point is rock concerts are great entertainment, but they're not a great way to prevent
I understand that, but
organisers of tonight's event say the controversy hasn't put them off planning similar concerts for the future.
It's always a problem actually getting them up and running, but once they're running it, you know, I always feel pleased that we've done it, so we'll keep on doing them.
Jendi Harper, One Network News.
In money news this evening, the New Zealand index has finished the week up 12 points following the upward trend on the Dow Jones in New York. And our dollar has fallen against the currencies of 3 of our 4 major trading partners, but is up against the Australian. And to the bigger picture now, the trade-weighted index is down, while rates on both 90-day bills and 10-year bonds are up. The Ukrainian government has come up with a novel way to collect unpaid taxes. It called a conference to discuss ways to increase government income and invited more than 1,700 businessmen and 500 regional officials. Police then locked the doors to the conference room and wouldn't let their guests leave until they'd promised in writing to pay their taxes. Makes you realise how lucky we are here in New Zealand with our tax system. Just ahead, Monica Lewinsky testifies about her alleged sexual affair with the president, and the name in the stone. Archaeologists add a new chapter to the legend of King Arthur.
On the Monday edition of Telstra Business, the results of New Zealand's first survey of investment confidence and the marketing success that is food in a minute. Join me at 6:30 weekday mornings on TV1 for Telstra Business, your business advantage.
Then on Breakfast from 7, a real treat.